Hey, howdy, hey, this is Dale back with Nerds. And you know what? We got a pretty cool collection in that has reestablished my will to live. So, not today, Satan. So, we have Bob joining us today. He's going to offer some insight. We recently got in kind of an old school collection, a lot of revised stuff. There's a couple of things from, I think, Chronicles and some Antiquities type things, so not to spoil too much. So we're going to go through it. Bob's going to offer some commentary on, some of the cards from back in the day and also some conditioning things like that. So.
You get all these hot old white border cards that show every little speck and dirt and scuff mark, and yeah, that was an experiment. Well, it was an experiment. They did that for a while.
Yeah. But yeah, so the first one we actually have cards sorted. So thank you to Ed, our lovely customer, came in and dropped these off for us. So we got Mahamati Jin. It's been reprinted about a gazillion times, but Bob and I both agreed before shooting this video that this is definitely the better art.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the original pieces of Magic art. It's classic.
And we talk about condition. Let's go use this one, the first one, as an example. So things pushing it from being like a lightly played, not only the discoloration that Bob talked about there, but also on the back here you see a good bit of damage. Bob, would you say that's moderate or heavily played based on your assessment there? And we'll flip through some of the not as
that's on the border. That, I mean, I could see maybe getting away with lightly played, but it's probably a little more moderately played. You could, I mean, yeah, if one was so inclined, they could kind of clean up the front a little bit with an eraser.
And these are some classic Mark Poole counter spells I'd already shown the front there, but that's an example of heavily actual on-sleeve play from back in the day. These were from revised, so I don't think people were using card sleeves nearly as often back then as they are now. No. Not even close.
I remember kids in school playing on the ground. Just throwing cards on the asphalt, they just scuff up the backs.
It's almost like taking the Black Lotus, putting in the bike spokes, or using a rookie card that was like Willie Mays or something ridiculous.
I had a friend who had a Black Lotus who they would play it at the Beehive in Oakland when that still existed, and they would play Magic with like alpha and beta cards because they came out from California to go to school out here, and they were covered had the smoke smell in them. They had beer stains on them. They played these cards would be worth tons and tons of money today. But
I'm kind of curious what that smegma is there. I'm hoping it's not a bugger and I start scraping with my finger there. But yeah, that's another prime example of very heavily back damage there. I'd say heavily played and damaged.
With that mark on it, it's probably damaged.
Especially that, can't tell that's masking tape or someone sneezed too hard. I don't know what that is. But yeah, pretty cool mind twist otherwise. And there's a good old D2 right there. Actually, the back looks pretty solid. There's obviously some wear, especially on the bottom and the back right side here. But
the condition on that's pretty good. It's just the aging. You can see there's not a lot of dirt or scuff marks on there, but the white isn't as crisp. It's a little more yellowed. So that may have. I don't know if it sat in the sun. I mean, if it sat in the sun, it'd be a little more faded. But it was exposed to something. That might be smoke damage from being in a smoky apartment or something.
And this is definitely a pretty clear difference of white borders actually staying pretty white versus some age. So I probably kept this one in a binder or somewhere safe for a lot longer. Probably played with this one if I had to take a guess. Especially telling on the back condition, this is the one that has the clean white border. So he probably had an extra copy, didn't see the need for playing with the second one or additional one, probably put in a binder. And this one he definitely played on the asphalt with the neighbor kids, as Bob alluded to. Actually, were you the neighbor kid who played on the asphalt with that here? These cards look familiar?
No.
Okay. Figured I'd ask.
No, I always sleeve my cards because I was always high maintenance.
Or a long-term thinker or forward thinker,
No.
Or OCD.
I didn't.
I was trying to give you the
I'll take
man.
OCD. I did not. Back in the day, I did not realize these cards are going to be worth what they were because this was back when the sports cards crash happened. I just figured it was a matter of time before that happened to Magic. And 25 years later, boy, was I proven wrong. But luckily, I didn't toss anything. So.
Oh gosh, I was going to say I really don't think you are OCD because you have corrected me. It says CDO. You have to alphabetize it. There's a little bit of dad humor there that went over hilariously with the crowd at home. No one here though. So this is a nice Birds of Paradise from Revised. Mark Poole did a lot of cool things back in the early to mid 90s.
I think it was maybe 2 years ago. He was one of the GPs, and I had him sign a whole bunch of birds, and then I bought an art print of that artwork because that's classic. And funny story about that. That was actually supposed to be the original art for Tropical Island.
Really?
For the dual land, yeah. And they were like, the island's not prominent enough. It doesn't look like a land, so they actually made Bird of Paradise to fit the artwork.
Huh.
So
that's actually a little bit of cool Magic Historia there. And there's a 4th edition Meekstone there. I'll get up a little bit in frame so you guys can see the pretty cool artwork, which they would never be able to do this ever again, unfortunately. And that's Quentin Hoover who did that one. And looks like another example of him not really playing with this card too much. There's a little bit of corner damage there and a little bit of scuffing up there. And the front is pretty pristine. I mean, that looks like he whited out the edges. I mean, not literally, because actually is original. But yeah, he actually kept that one in real good shape. Same with this Winter Warp, Mark Teeden, classic art.
It's another classic card that everyone hated back in the day, and I think still do.
Oh yeah, for playing Commander, I mean, somebody plays that on turn 1 after a turn 1 Soul Ring, you're pretty much on flip the table before the game even really gets started. And there's some edging damage down there on the bottom. Otherwise, another very nice card. We actually have 2 Nev's discs, both from I think they're both revised, and Mark Teeden did this one as well. So if you guys who just got into it and started playing Commander with the pre-cons or whatever, obviously it looks a lot different than it does now. So this one I probably grade is lightly played. This one I'd probably put a moderately played grade on it, only because of the wearing on the back. I mean, the front is pretty decent. There's a little nick there. I mean, it'd probably be borderline moderate played to HP.
Those both revised, or is one of them forged?
No, they're both revised.
The one looked a little darker from my point of view.
No, I'm actually kind of curious. Yeah, there's something more fading on the one in my right hand here. So no, you're absolutely right. But yeah, they're both revised.
Might be the faded one might have a little sun damage.
Now this is an issue of it being miscut. You see the edging is a lot thicker on the right hand side and the bottom compared to the top and the left hand side. Usually they want to be as uniform as possible. And
yeah, that definitely doesn't win points for centering, but there's some people like miscut cards. So
it's very niche. So you have to find the right person who's into it, or just somebody looking for a 50-cent Zero Orb from Ice Age.
What's kind of annoying about a miscut like that is that the people who want pristine cards aren't going to go for it, and the people who are really into miscuts, they want miscuts that have like 2 cards on one, because sometimes they will cut further down the line. So that doesn't really hit.
You only get like that much of the card.
You get the bottom of one card and then the top of another. Yeah, and that doesn't really meet either criteria. The infamous Chronicles.
Oh, gosh.
It's the reason why the reserve list exists today. So if you're pissed off about prices of old cards, it's that set's fault.
And yep, there's some more edge damage down there, but otherwise pretty good shape. I'll probably put moderately played only because of the damage on the right hand corner of the bottom is actually pretty visible. I always try to go a grade lower just to appease people and don't try to nickel and dime. Yeah,
you don't want to list something at like too high a grade and then have them complain when they get it.
And here's a strip mine. This is from Antiquities. I can't remember. It was just the Horizons one. I always get them all kind of goofed up here.
That's the No Horizons. That's
No
the
Horizons,
one that's zoomed in as far as you can go. And I think that one.
Oh gosh.
I don't think that printing was ever reprinted. I think that was the No Horizons one was only in Antiquities.
Yeah, and this is another example of the back and the edges are really, really beaten to crap there. I mean, they usually near mint they go for like 40, 45 a piece, give or take. So these obviously took a huge hit because somebody decided to have fun and play a children's card game and actually did what they're supposed to do with the cards.
Yeah, it looks like the Even Horizon one is the one that sees the most reprint. That's the No Horizons. Basically the zoom in of the one that's been printed a lot.
And Thon Glacier actually went up somewhat recently. It's now the second most expensive card from Alliances, I want to say, behind Force of Will.
I think it's a reserve list card, so that's definitely one of the reasons why. And it did actually see one reprint, even though it's on the reserve list. There was a Judge promo back in 2011 when they were playing around with things like Judge promos and From the Vaults could reprint reserve list cards, and then everyone flipped out and reversed that decision.
So Thawing Glaciers are going to put the global warming off to the side there. And okay, it looks like we're going into some spice. I don't know, I'm actually surprised because I already saw this collection before filming it, but
and there we have the gold standard of old cards. The price that affects the market.
The revised duels. I mean, if nothing else, at least it's a benchmark to for people getting into reserve list. It's kind of like the kind of the bottom tier, the entry point for a lot of people.
If you really want to get into investing, like hardcore investing, and really want to get into to reserve list stuff, that's the type of stuff you want to buy, because they may go up, they may go down, but they're never going to lose all their value. It's not like these. I know people spec on random stuff like stone calendar from the dark, and they'll put hundreds of dollars into stone calendars because they went up from $1 to $5, and then they tank again because no one actually wants stone calendar.
No, and see, that's an example too. Is like I end up having to give this guy less money because of condition, and that's one thing. Like too, if you ever were to trade in stuff, especially older cards, that condition is everything. It's like with newer cards, if it's a $10 card, it's pretty much going to be a $10 card unless you put it through the washing machine, where it might be a difference of a couple bucks here or there. And if you're a shop owner or a person trading and you have a $10 card that went down to $7, you're not overly upset by $3. But I mean, near mint plateaus, I forget the exact value. It's I think $330. I want to say $350.
It's in the 300s, and I think in that condition, those might be worth
like $215. I think
I'd say half price. I'd say they'd be in the high hundreds if the best case scenario, and even then, it's a little bit of a tougher sale because a lot of the people who want duels, they want them in condition. So if those were mint, you'd be able to. Just even though they're higher priced in mint condition, you'd be able to sell them a lot faster than the lower price beat up ones.
Exactly. And a lot of people like to say at that point he'd be looking to upgrade his collection compared to just acquiring more duels just for the sake of saying he has them. Now if he was investing and just trying to get a good position on them from a financial standpoint, then that'd be a completely different conversation. But as it stands, I mean, you're looking for somebody casual commander players trying to go competitive, or trying to get competitive, or legacy player who's trying to build the first deck and they really don't care about condition. They're trying to get into the format at an affordable rate. So I got probably more. So with all that being said, I'd probably be able to sell the really beat up one faster, only because there'd probably be slightly more market for people getting into a format. But for the collectability, I'd probably say the better tier ones are going to be able to sell faster. It's
a tough call. I mean, there's definitely a market for played cards, that's for sure.
Let me rephrase. I think there's kind of like, people, not say want damage, but they want the less expensive one just to say they have one, or for use of for play, or they want pristine. It seems like anything less than pristine, anything more than heavily played, it seems kind of like a no man's land.
The fastest selling cards will be either the absolute mint, like Gem 9 type cards, Gem 9, Gem 10 type cards, or like the most beat up, scraped across the asphalt. Dog went to the bathroom on it, like just completely beat up card.
I told you a story of confidence, Bob.
So the dual land that you can get for $50, which it has to be really beat up for that price,
No, but yeah, that pretty much concludes the video. Thank you guys for tuning in, liking, commenting, subscribing, a little thumbs up and the little bell icon to get notified when we do videos. Thank you for going to these videos. Hit the dislike button twice, just to let them know you're there. But yeah, thanks for tuning in, guys. Hopefully this was a nice change of pace from all the box openings we've done. It's a nice little glimpse into some of the things that happen on a day-to-day basis. All right, see you next time.